What would you do if the people you trusted most were secretly planning your downfall? Imagine inheriting $890,000, only to discover that the real price wasn't taxes, it was betrayal. In this channel, every story dives deep into the dark side of family loyalty, where brothers become rivals, husbands become strategists, and love turns into leverage. Here, mysterious gift boxes hide financial traps, secret alliances form behind closed doors, and shocking messages expose greed no one saw coming. These are raw, first-person confessions packed with emotional twists, calculated revenge, and survival against those who thought trust made the perfect weakness. If you crave unforgettable family drama, hidden schemes, and the kind of jaw-dropping revelations that change everything in a single moment, you're in the right place. Because sometimes the most dangerous enemies don't knock on the door, they already have a key. The day $890,000 hit the account was the same day blood ties started to rot. An inheritance meant security, maybe even peace. Instead, it exposed just how thin loyalty had always been. Congratulations from family sounded rehearsed, forced. No one smiled with their eyes, especially not a certain brother. 3 weeks later, a gift box arrived. No return address, just a handwritten note taped on top. For your new beginning. The handwriting was unmistakable, too neat, too careful. Something felt wrong. The house had been tense ever since the money came in. A husband who once dismissed finances suddenly wanted joint access to everything. Long, private phone calls, late-night texting that stopped the second footsteps were heard. Questions about investment plans that felt less like support and more like strategy. The box sat unopened on the kitchen counter, and that hesitation saved everything. Instead of lifting the lid, a quiet call was made to a lawyer friend, then another, to a private security company. The truth came faster than expected. Inside the package was not a gift, but documents, forged documents, property transfer papers, a power of attorney form ready for a signature. Hidden beneath decorative tissue paper was also a small recording device. It wasn't generosity, it was a setup. The brother had partnered with the one person who shared a bed every night. Text records later confirmed it. Messages about getting access, plans to convince a signature was needed for tax protection, even discussions about pushing for emotional pressure if cooperation failed. Years of jealousy had been quietly festering. Growing up, there had always been competition, but this was calculated, strategic, personal. And the husband, someone trusted with every vulnerability, wasn't just aware, he was leading it. Bank records revealed more. Quiet transfers, a hidden account opened months before the inheritance was finalized. Plans were already in motion long before the money arrived. Marriage had turned into a business opportunity. But patience can be powerful. Instead of confrontation, signatures were quietly changed. Assets moved, legal protection locked down every dollar, evidence collected, conversations recorded. Then divorce papers were served, alongside a civil fraud complaint. The brother received notice of an ongoing criminal investigation for attempted financial exploitation. The unopened box was returned, this time with copies of the evidence inside. Some betrayals break a heart, others build a spine. And that box never got opened. When the inheritance cleared, silence in the house grew louder than celebration. $890,000 doesn't just change a bank balance, it changes how people look at you. Smiles sharpen, hugs linger too long, questions start sounding like calculations. Family dinners used to feel warm. After the money, every gathering felt like a negotiation disguised as love. A brother who rarely called suddenly checked in daily. A husband who once shrugged at financial talk began insisting on long-term strategy meetings at the kitchen table. Spreadsheets replaced small talk. Passwords became a favorite topic. Trust didn't shatter all at once. It cracked quietly. The first fracture came late one night. A phone buzzed on the nightstand. The screen lit up with a preview message that wasn't meant to be seen. She has no idea. Once the funds move, we're set. The sender's name wasn't saved, but the number was familiar. Too familiar. Sleep didn't come that night. The next morning brought forced affection, coffee made without being asked, casual kisses, questions about when the inheritance would be fully accessible. The performance was almost convincing. Curiosity turned into caution. Phone records were checked, shared email accounts reviewed. What surfaced wasn't just betrayal, it was planning. Months before the inheritance had even been finalized, conversations had already begun. A joint investment proposal drafted behind closed doors. A new LLC quietly registered under a name that didn't appear anywhere in personal conversations. The registered partner? A brother. It wasn't coincidence. It was collaboration. Messages revealed frustration over waiting. Discussions about convincing a signature was necessary for tax protection. Even worse were the personal exchanges, mocking trust, laughing about loyalty, referring to marriage as leverage. Years together reduced to strategy. Every anniversary, every promise, every whispered reassurance now felt staged. But exposure doesn't require screaming, it requires timing. Financial control was separated quietly, legal counsel retained discreetly. Forensic accountants traced attempted transfers that hadn't yet gone through. Evidence stacked neatly, stronger than any denial could dismantle. Then came the confrontation neither saw coming. Not emotional, not explosive, just precise. Divorce papers filed, fraud documentation submitted, partnership disputes triggered legal audits that froze their precious LLC before it ever touched a cent. The brother stopped calling. The husband stopped pretending. Inheritance money didn't destroy the family, it revealed it. And nothing is more dangerous than a woman who finally sees the truth. The package arrived on a Tuesday morning, wrapped too neatly for something sent with love. No return address, just a small typed label and a note inside the mailbox that read, "Thought you should see this." Ever since the $890,000 inheritance came through, tension had been simmering beneath the surface. A brother who once barely showed interest in anything suddenly had opinions about investments. A husband who used to say, "Money isn't everything," now treated every conversation like a board meeting. The box sat unopened on the dining table for hours. Something about it felt heavy, not in weight, but in intention. When it was finally opened, the first thing inside wasn't a gift. It was a folder. Printed screenshots, bank statements, photos. At first, none of it made sense. Then the pieces began to click into place. There were transfers highlighted in yellow, small amounts at first, spaced weeks apart. Then larger ones, scheduled but not yet processed. A separate account number circled in red. The name attached to that account wasn't unfamiliar. It belonged to the husband. Beneath the statements were text message screenshots between him and the brother, conversations stretching back nearly a year, discussions about timing the inheritance, jokes about securing the bag. One message stood out more than the rest. "Once she signs the investment paperwork, we split it. Clean and simple." Clean and simple. Marriage reduced to a transaction. Scrolling through those printed screenshots felt like watching a stranger wear a familiar face. Late nights at work meetings now had timestamps that matched restaurant receipts attached in the folder. There were even drafts of documents, power of attorney forms prepared in advance, waiting for the right moment of emotional vulnerability. And then came the most painful discovery. A message from the husband that read, "She trusts me completely. That's the advantage." Trust wasn't just broken, it had been weaponized. The brother hadn't sent the package out of guilt. He sent it because greed turns partners into competitors. Something must have gone wrong between them. Maybe the split wasn't even. Maybe betrayal runs in layers. But that package did more than expose deception. It offered clarity. Accounts were frozen before transfers could complete. A lawyer was hired without a word spoken at home. Evidence was secured, every document copied. When divorce papers were served, there was shock in those eyes. When fraud allegations followed, there was silence. The mysterious package was meant to threaten financial security. Instead, it destroyed their conspiracy. And loyalty, once broken, never gets a second chance. Money doesn't change people overnight. It reveals who they've been all along. When the $890,000 inheritance came through, the house didn't fill with excitement. It filled with strategy. Conversations lowered in volume when footsteps approached. Phone screens tilted away. A brother who once complained about personal struggles suddenly spoke like a financial advisor. A husband who used to avoid conflict now insisted on protecting the family assets. It all sounded responsible until it didn't. The first crack appeared during a casual Sunday dinner. A brother mentioned an investment opportunity no one had ever discussed before, yet the husband nodded like it was old news. Eye contact passed between them, quick but loaded. Something unspoken, something rehearsed. Later that night, curiosity overpowered trust. An email left open on a shared laptop revealed more than intended. A draft agreement outlining a joint venture between the husband and the brother. Profit distribution percentages already decided. A projected starting capital amount that matched the inheritance down to the dollar. The timestamp on the document? 3 months before the inheritance had even been finalized. Planning had begun long before the money arrived. Scrolling further uncovered private messages. Discussions about convincing a signature was just a formality. Comments about emotional leverage, even a line that stung deeper than anything else. She won't question it. She never does. Years of marriage reduced to an assumption of blind trust. Digging deeper exposed more layers. A newly opened business account, quiet credit inquiries made under marital privileges, a scheduled meeting with a financial consultant that had never been mentioned at home. The alliance wasn't impulsive, it was methodical. Family loyalty had become a coordinated operation. But survival doesn't require confrontation in the heat of anger. It requires patience. A lawyer was contacted discreetly. Financial safeguards were activated. Access permissions quietly changed. Every suspicious message and document was saved in multiple places. Then came the final twist they never anticipated. Instead of signing their prepared investment agreement, a forensic audit was initiated. Instead of transferring funds, legal separation paperwork was filed. Instead of quiet compliance, a formal complaint for attempted financial exploitation was submitted. Shock replaced confidence. Denials followed. Blame shifted between them like a collapsing bridge. Blood may connect people, but greed exposes their distance. And the moment trust dies, so does the version of love that once felt safe. If this story left you shocked, just wait until you hear what happens next. Around here, every inheritance hides a secret, every marriage faces a test, and every betrayal has consequences. Don't forget to like this video if you felt the tension, comment your thoughts below, and subscribe for more powerful stories of loyalty, deception, and revenge. Turn on notifications so you never miss the next twist, because in these stories, trust is fragile, money reveals everything, and the truth always comes out.